Okay, a very good morning to everyone. Thank you for making it here on time. Lovely to see you all here. We're technically a sold-out workshop, and it is the first in 5 years. And I know that because Evo was incorporated on the 22nd of October, so it was the anniversary on Thursday last week. So this is a joint presentation from both Evo Networking, which also is the mothership which delivers the Biz Live each week. And we will be publishing this workshop not only on the Biz Live, the new YouTube channel, but also to the members of the Evo network, which has grown over 100% since the lockdown started. I'm very lucky to say that we have 4 speakers today, myself included. I will be, maybe surprising to you, be delivering the shorter 10 minutes, but the idea came about for a conversation with my colleague Sarah Brooks, who was on flexible furlough back then and rejoins full-time on the 2nd of November. And she said, you know what we should be doing? Really taking full advantage of the full understanding and the usage of Zoom and delivering a workshop to help people get the best from online networking. And there are significant differences between the world of coming together in a physical venue, a live venue as it were, or as the expression I've now seen to see, which is F2, number 2, F, or face-to-face. That's something we're seeing a lot now in networking. And I think James would probably echo this in his section. I don't think this is going to change anytime soon. I think the changes may be permanent or even semi-permanent when it comes to interfacing in the business community, and particularly how it affects online networking. For those of you who don't know, we started off in live venues, and that's how it's been right up until February, March time this year. We've had several hundred meetings online. It's been going very well, and I think people have now fully understood, the nature of particularly Zoom, which most people seem to use. And this is a workshop. It was Sarah's idea to help you get the most out of it. So we've picked 3 speakers today who've got extensive experience in everything from leadership to running events online. Great, thank you very much indeed. I'm popping everyone on to mute at the moment, apart from Sarah, who's our speaker. So a quick introduction to Sarah. She's told you a bit about her. What you won't know is she's not only part of the Evo staff and has been since January, but has 20 years experience as a TV producer and executive producer. She has worked with me since 2008, specifically on networking events, and then latterly business exhibitions for 5.5 hours, up to 5,500 delegates and exhibitors, and has 6 professional qualifications, including 2 law degrees, a print journalism degree, and she was also part of the BBC trainee scheme, an incredibly difficult course to get on, and is a qualified coach as well with our friend Bev and the Coaching Academy. So I'm going to invite you all to pop yourself onto speaker view. The way this is going to work, we've got about 10 minutes. Sarah, occasionally known fondly to people in television and myself as Brooksy, but we'll call her Sarah today, Sarah Brooks, is going to be talking a little bit about some of the key points that she thinks will help you get a better experience when it comes to online networking. Of course, there is synergy between live venues, but there are differences as well. So we're going to run through some of those things. She's going to talk about several points, and then we're going to have time for a couple of questions. So during Sarah's chat, this is how it's going to work. If you could please post your questions into the chat. As I'm chairing it, I will fish out 1 or 2 questions to ask. And each speaker has about 10 minutes here. So thank you very much indeed. Please stick around to the end. It's very important that you do. It is an interactive session. There is a breakout room planned for you. I will go off camera shortly and just make sure that those who are trying to get in can do so. So over to you, Sarah Brooks. We're all on speaker view. Tell us a little bit about some of the advice, tips, and tricks, if you like. We've got 20 to share with you today, 20 points about making a better ROI for you in the world of online networking. Sarah Brooks, please give her a round of applause. Thank you.
Thanks, Jamie. So Jamie was mentioning there that there are significant differences between online networking and face-to-face networking. But actually, I just want to start by saying how similar it is, in the sense that when you go to an online meeting, there are various things that are very much the same as if you were meeting someone face to face. So you need to really think about your preparation and your mindset, really. What are you coming to this meeting for? Why are you going to this meeting? I think with lockdown and working from home, I think we've all got very much used to sort of maybe getting up a bit later and maybe going around in our sweatpants and all that sort of thing. But obviously what we need to do is present ourselves as if we were going to an actual meeting. So make sure that you're really ready, that your mind is ready, and that you're thinking about being an active participant in the meeting and not a passive participant, not what this meeting is going to do for you, but what you're going to do for this meeting kind of thing. So think about also your background, where you're actually setting yourself up. Make sure, those usual things, that you don't have anyone coming into the back of shot. I mean, I've got my kids on half term at the moment, so hopefully they won't come into this meeting, but just to let everyone know and make sure that you're properly lit and that the camera angle is right, and that you're really ready to start the meeting. So don't be late, always be on time, be in the waiting room at 5 minutes before the meeting is due to start. And I suppose on top of that, then we start going into the things that are a bit different about online meetings. So the first thing I would say is screenshot the meeting. After you've had the meeting, screenshot it, or during the meeting, screenshot it, so that you can then share it on social media and show people that you're actively out there and meeting people. And particularly LinkedIn is just so important for that. So social media outlets, but particularly LinkedIn. And if you can't make a meeting, make sure that you can nominate a sub. So have some people in your hinterland who you can call upon if an emergency arises or you're double booked. Then get a sub to attend the meeting for you, because not only can then they promote your meeting, but also they can your business, they can also promote their own. So they can do two things at once. They can keep an eye and an ear on what's going on in the meeting, and you can achieve quite a lot if you're actually sort of driving a vehicle for the two of you. And with Evo, of course, we have the opportunity where you can attend the other groups. So we've got lots of groups here today, but you can also, go to another group. You might be in Delta, but you can also go to Sigma and all the other groups that are available. And the great thing about that is you can suddenly get exposure to so many different people and businesses. So it really is a great opportunity that's just sitting there for you to increase all your contacts and your ability to sort of network through groups as well. I think you might be surprised at, that you'll see some familiar faces and of course some people you've never seen before. So, both of those things are really good with networking. And as I said, just make sure that when you're going to attend a meeting, that you have the setup that you think is right for your business. So, for example, Jamie has the backdrop of Evo business. I'm at home because I'm actually not in the business right now full time. I'm still on furlough. So, I want to present that I'm actually still at home and that I'm not in an office environment yet. So it's that kind of thing. It's just make sure that you project the image that is right for you and your business. There you go, Jamie. I think that's it from me. I could ramble on, but I know that we want to keep it quite concise. So.
Great, good stuff. Well, thank you very much indeed, Sarah, for that. And we're going to move on to our next presenter today. James Short, I mentioned, is a CB and an OBE. He leads the Sierra Group, of course, and is retired Army Major General, two-star general. Was a former NATO commander among many other senior roles and procurement at the MOD. He advised the police and has done many other interesting things, including a life in business for many years. He both set up, founded, and I believe also sold the business Augment, and that's how we first met about 10 or 11 years ago through business networking. So he's very well qualified to talk about some of the points, and he has a few tips and tricks to share with you about how to get the best from online networking. So please give a round of applause, please, an Evo round of applause. We're all members here today to James Short. Welcome to the workshop, James. Over to you.
All right, thank you. With that build up, I better shut up and quit while I'm ahead, I think. But maybe what I'd like to do is to help you answer the question of why you're doing this. And I would start by saying that, in my view, online networking is going to continue. And when you think of what we did before, the getting up in the dark and driving off to some very nice place, I think there will be less of that in the future. I still think it ought to continue because there's nothing to replace the face-to-face meeting. But I think it's going to be a balance, because I think what this COVID has taught us is that there is a different way to do business. And so the first thing I would say is, if you're not in your business thinking differently, then you should be. And that also covers the networking. And that's why I think Evo is a very, very powerful tool, because not only can you come to, you're in a particular group, but you can visit the other groups. And I might say, as somebody who's spent 35 years in the leadership business, you'll find that each group reflects the characteristics or character of the leader. And despite the fact that Jamie says, you must do this, you must do that, most leaders, I think, don't. But anyway, so it's very interesting to go and visit the other groups, because there are takeaways from each of them. What we do in Sierra is focus on having a theme each week. And that's why it's important to visit the other groups, because you can learn from them. And I would say this as a leader of a group: if you want to come and talk at my group, displaying your knowledge of your expertise, then please talk to me and we'll arrange it, because we have all sorts of formats. You think there's only 2 formats? No way. But there's lots of ways to help people. And that's what this whole Evo business, in my view, is about: helping people to get through the next 6 months to a year. And there always has been a problem, and there's always been uncertainty. So there's no reason why we can't not just survive, but, as they say, thrive. And certainly a couple of clients I've got at the moment are absolutely doing really, really well, because they're focusing on changing what they were doing, seeing what they were good at, looking at new opportunities and getting out there and doing it. And remember that the whole business about Evo and how that can help you is in the famous, am I allowed to say BNI? Yes, I will. The BNI, know, like, trust, because that's what it's all about. And you do business with people that you know, that you like, and that you trust. And the only way you'll do that is if you turn up at meetings and people get to know you. They can hear you and they can say, all right, you know, that sounds okay. And having one-to-ones, either in the meeting or more correctly, sort of outside the meeting, where you have a bit of time to talk, because in the meeting sometimes it's a little bit restricted in terms of getting to know. So that's about it, I think, from me. And also save the chat box, because quite often all sorts of interesting things come up in the chat box, and I then go and forget to save it and think, oh gosh, and then I've got to chase around for a contact, etc., etc. So it's much easier to press the 3 buttons and save the chat box, and then you've got the contacts and questions and something interesting that might have come up. So Dave, you and I need to talk about cycling at some stage, but anyway, I think that's enough from me, Jamie.
Well, thank you very much indeed, James. There's some good comments coming in here, and very, very grateful to have some of your wisdom shared here. And obviously we can send this out across social media afterwards as well, particularly on our new The Biz Live YouTube channel. Dave Perkins from Hello Creative says, very true. Each group is a fresh experience. I couldn't agree with you more. And what James said, each leader puts their own stamp on the group, and they're very different meetings. So do go and visit. Okay, so
does everyone know how to save the chat? The 3 dots.
Yes.
Bring it up in your meeting, James, but just in case people don't know how to save it, it's the 3 dots in the top right.
Sorry. If you look in the chat box at the bottom, there's a little box with 3 dots, and if you click on that, it allows you to save the chat. I might say my experience, and I'm not a huge expert, it only saves that which has happened. So you've got to do it at the end. And then if you leave the meeting, it's too late, you've lost it. I think that's the experience.
So for those of you who don't know or haven't been along to one of the networking groups which takes place in Bristol, from which Andrea leads, at least a couple I know that, has supported Evo Women since its inception, as well as a kind of a co-leader running the tech and also doing some promotional PR work for Evo. But Andrea does much more than that, as you may discover. That's why we've asked her to come and speak today. She's been running a successful PR company for a number of years, and is also a sports expert that does PR for all different sectors as well, but is particularly a specialist when it comes to equestrian sports. So it's lovely to have you here, Andrea. You've got about 10 minutes now. If you have got any questions that you'd like to ask Andrea, particularly points about the ROI on networking and how you can get the best from online networking, because that's why we're here today. Over to you, Andrea. Tell us what you've got to share.
Thank you, Jamie. So I think, like James said, online is here to stay, and that's an amazing benefit for all of us. I know many of us want to get back to face as well, because actually seeing people is wonderful, and it helps build relationships probably a bit more quickly. But with online, you've got this amazing experience of meeting more people than you would normally. I don't know how many extra people I've met this year, but it's got to be 600 or so. I'm sure it has. And in Evo Women, we've got a member who lives in Wimbledon. She's a digital marketer, and we never would have met her, and she's doing a little bit of work with me, and she's great. So I think it's a really valuable thing. A few tips for you. One is the dreaded mute button. So I really think we're kind of like, we don't really need the you're on mute thing anymore, like, or can you hear me? Like, we can, it's like most people are, you know, just focus, concentrate, and like keep an eye on the mute button. And also, one thing is really important is people can tell if you're doing email. If you're in another networking group, I was in a networking group and somebody was watching Desperate Housewives while they were on. They're no longer in that networking group anymore, funnily enough. But yeah, they were actually. And I don't know that a few of you probably know Sam Perry from Social Media, and Sam just went, "Are you listening to Desperate Housewives?" in his way that only he would have known. I wouldn't have known what it was, but it was brilliant. So it's like, concentrate. People can actually see you more than in face-to-face meetings. People can see you all the time. So even if your eyes are dropping down to your mobile and that kind of thing, it's really obvious. So I tend to take a note about every person. Some people, it's like a double check. Are they on, am I connected with them on LinkedIn, or would I like to have a one-to-one with them? Sometimes it's like a little question, like you hear something that they talk about and you can think, oh yeah, I would really like to ask, you know, about that. Things like, I know, for instance, I know that Hello Creative, where Dave works, have just had a new sign outside, because I see them on social media, and it's things like, okay, I know that, so I could ask Dave something about that, and that would be a nice, you know, it's like little ways of building that relationship with each other. So I think, and that's a way of keeping focus, because some people do find it quite hard to keep focus during the round, during the 30-second round or during the speaker round. So yeah, take notes, and highlighters I use as well. I have a colour coding system. So does Vicky Gardner from Ziabia. She also has a colour coding system. But you know, very nice, Dave. I like it. And something we just spoke about in our breakout room is like the meeting, the Evo meeting is the first step. It's like the starting point of your networking. It's the starting point of you getting to know people, and it can take months and years for people to understand exactly what you do. And as Dave said, you know, especially in PR, because nobody gets it. Yeah, thanks. But it's true. It does take a long time to get to know each other, and it's like that know, like, and trust. And you need to work at it. It's a serious part of building your business. So set yourself a number of one-to-ones you're going to do a week. I've got my own Calendly link that I use, that people can just go ahead and book in those times and work at it, work at the relationships. It's really important. And with Evo, I think the one thing that I would say which makes this a completely different network is the people in Evo. Everyone is so well connected. It's so well connected. It's not just the people in the meeting, it's all the people they know. And it's like, take advantage of that and take time to find out, you know, what people Like we talked about what Tracy's business before the business she's in now is fascinating, and all the people that Tracy knows is of massive value to what she does now, and as a person to be connected to. So it's find out about people's backgrounds, find out about the people they know, and yeah, how you can help each other. The last thing is, in Evo Women, we've got we try every week to help each other. So we have a thing where we will make sure we're all following each other's Facebook pages, which is going to be this week's thing, for instance. So it's what do you do in between the meetings that isn't one-to-one, but maybe it's like sharing someone's LinkedIn post. And sometimes I'll, because you don't want to spend like too many hours helping everybody else, you need to keep it sort of sustainable, is I'll pick 2 people to share their LinkedIn post this week or comment on, and then do a little rota of the members of the group, something like that. But yeah, another way you can help people. Yeah, those are my tips.
Thank you very much indeed, Andrea. A round of applause for Andrea, please. I hope James and Sarah had one as well. So we've got a question here from Dave from Hello Creative. Dave, would you like to come off mute for a moment and put the question to Andrea, please?
Sure, it's a bit long-winded. I guess when I'm going to use financial advisors as an example. So you already have your guy or your girl that you refer to people, but you want to connect with more people. Have you got any advice about how to go about having good one-to-ones with people who basically you've had the same conversation with someone else about their industry like last week?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because I don't want to limit the amount of connections, but it's like
talk to them about their client base, and can you help any of their clients, because that will help them and make them look good. So I tend to find out about who their clients are, and you can, it's other things like do they play rugby? They've got a rugby club, maybe they want a website or something, Dave. You never know. So you just need to kind of go a bit more deep into who the actual person is. I think that's really important. But yeah, go through their clients. Like, have they got a client who they particularly need to help at the moment, and you might be able to help them. That sometimes works.
Nice, thanks, Andrea.
Great, thank you very much for the question, Dave. Very pertinent, as Jane Geldart said. Good question, and thank you for raising your hand on that one. So we're coming to the last section of today's interactive workshop. And if you are watching on the YouTube channel, this is all about how to get the best from online networking. It's a new territory. The sands have shifted, of course, for us all across the world, and business networking has changed. Will it be forever? Well, time will tell. Certainly people like to interface and interact one-to-one with actual human contact. That's a big thing. That's why I set up the network 5 years ago last week. Okay, so I'm actually your last guest speaker or panelist. I think it's nice to say panelist. We've never had a panels before with Evo. So I'm going to run through a few tips and tricks, the last maybe 4 or 5 points, which I think, after a little bit of thought, which is unusual for me, I do sometimes give things some thought, may make it a better experience and allow you to get more from your network, and also, importantly, to contribute as well. So in the last 5 or 10 minutes, I'd like to run through those points, and they are: please stick around at the end of the meeting. Some of the group leaders, and it is up to them, of course, if there's a particularly high amount of attendees. So last Thursday, Evo Wales, we had 45 people, including myself, running tech. It's a lot of people. So some people like to stick around at the end. And if the group leader says yes, take advantage of that. You'll find that 6 to 8 people often stick around, and they end up being the people who seem to be doing the best from the group. There is a correlation there. It's not a direct correlation, but it seems to be almost like a super group forms And then it's not by invite only, it's just those when the meeting is meant to end who do stick around. Now, a number of the speakers and panelists and guests here today have to go off today at about 11, so we are going to end the meeting on time. There's not going to be an after meeting or an after party, if you like. But in general, with your networking meeting, do stick around and see if the end meeting button hasn't been pressed by the group leader or myself. And usually there's 5 or 10 minutes of good conversation. That's where some real good networking takes place. Keep that in mind. Next one, please use that chat feature to introduce yourself, and in particular to ask questions to the panelists in this case, or to the speakers on every other meeting that you attend. It is important, but please remember, consider using it in a more limited way when there is a presentation going on. If it's just general chit chat, banter is great. There was a lot of it today at Matt Richardson's original group called Evo Genesis. That's been going for 5 years pretty much, and there's a very, very sort of friendly dialogue. That's how the members and the visiting guests connect there. A little bit of banter, but perhaps consider when you have a special speaker there to perhaps limit that chat, because it may not reflect so well on you if it shows that you're not paying attention. It's just a small thing, but there it is. Last couple of points before we wrap things up. In the Mastermind Week, for those of you who don't know or new to Evo, also we have some new members here like Matt. For those of you are new, we have a rotating format. It's one of the evolving features of Evo. One week we have a classic week, which involves a speaker, or panelist, or presentation of some sort, often from the membership, often from outside. And then the next week, we have the mastermind, where we have a mastermind, but we spend more time on that mastermind. We feed back the key points into the main room afterwards. There is a difference. So in that mastermind week, we have a I would like to meet round. Now, some people call it the referral round. It's not really a referral round. It's I'm actually looking to connect with somebody. Now, here's the secret formula. The more, my best tip to you would be, the more specific the request, the better. There seems to be a correlation in the success, which I picked up on. So in that little 5 minutes in the mastermind week, which is every 2 weeks, as I mentioned just now, around about 9 o'clock, 9:05 is 5 minutes. We whiz around the room. Hi, my name is Jamie Breese, and I would like to meet a potential sponsor for season 5 of the Biz Live. That's all I get. That's all the time I get, but it's quite general. Now, if I was to say, hi, my name's Jamie Breese, I'm looking to meet a senior figure, maybe in marketing at HSBC or NatWest Bank, that may resonate with people. They may go, yep, I know that. And you may be surprised when you actually say a name of somebody, like I'm looking to meet James Short of the High Growth Knowledge Company. He's here today. He's one of our leaders. You'll be amazed. People literally come off me. They go, I know that person. There's a correlation. If you go, hi, my name's Jamie. I'm looking for a sponsor of the Biz Live season 5. That could be anybody and everybody in the world, literally, except for me, unless I was to sponsor myself, because I couldn't find a sponsor. So be specific. Does that make sense? I hope so. Last 2 points. Here we are. Point 19 and 20. We've got 20 tips here today for you, if you counted them. It's difficult for many to adapt to online meetings. You know, we get that. I get that. However, it does present a better image if you have either a neutral sort of background or a virtual background like I've got. In Zoom, it's pretty easy to do. If you've got a question about how to do that, then contact your group leader or myself. You may also want to get it professionally designed. There's a number of designers in our Evo network. One of them is here in the room today. You may also want to consider investing on or around £100 or £120 with the VAT element in something like a USB microphone. This is the Yeti. It comes in silver and black. I'm not an affiliate marketer and I don't make money from sharing this tip with you, but I find it's the most popular one and lots of podcasters use it. It is a USB one, though. It's not got the traditional connections for other audio devices, though there's a way around that. It's more complicated. But if you are seeing this as the long game, if you are doing your own podcasts, if you are on Zoom a lot of the day, I know people have said the audio is measurably better using one of these, and it has a gain control. I can set it up for interviews with 2 people or 4-way as well. So it's very, very flexible, and it's tax deductible, of course, as a business expense. So keep that in mind. And lastly, what about your visual quality? I'm using a circa 40 or 50 pound webcam, and I'm realizing that it has a convexing effect. It's not the best one. Maybe should be spending £100 on maybe a better brand or a recognized brand, which will produce better high definition results. There are some members now who are using their DSLR cameras. These are the Canon Mark IIs, the 5Ds. These bigger cameras, which many people actually have, which can also be used for live streaming. You need to just check your manuals or the internet for that. But the image quality is quantum. Member Mark Terrell, he's a member of the Evo Sigma group, a founder member, I believe. He uses his DSLR camera. The image is fantastic. It's the best one in the network. And it's a camera which he uses, because I'm sure he uses it for photography and other things. But this is a camera which will make a big difference to the visual, professional look of your Zoom meeting. So please keep that in mind. If you have got a DSLR, you may be able to use it for your Zoom meetings. And what a difference it does make. Lovely blurred out background, kind of really warm colors, and it's a much more natural look and a realistic look as well. So think about how your look and your audio can impact your professional presentation. If you went into a meeting to buy a luxury car, let's say that was the case, and the person, was in what felt like a very low rent office space within a luxury car dealership, and there was faded calendars on the wall, and the desk was a touch untidy, you may stop to reconsider if this person's going to give you the best deal. Maybe you're not going to get the after sales service that you demand of that service and product, which you expect. It's a little correlation, but I think it stands true. So keep that in mind. And then very pleased to say that my last point, as we begin to wrap things up in the last 4 minutes that we have together, it may well be that Zoom meetings, as we've come to know them, and we use Zoom because they are the market leader to the best of my knowledge, and the calls that are associated with them are here to stay, even when the COVID crisis eases or indeed, hopefully, disappears for good. So upping your game, especially in things like the background, the lighting. I've got a ring light here. I think it was £20 from a well-known internet retailer. £20, I can change the color temperature. It was dark this morning when I started some meetings. I suddenly had light on me. So think about that background. Think about the audio and visual stakes, and think about a long-term investment in maybe a few £100s in some equipment, because I think that whatever happens when this crisis passes and goes, there will be an element of people staying in the virtual domain, maybe with some of the business networking meetings, maybe in their day-to-day business. There's less commuting, of course. It may be better for the environment. We hope that's the case. It seems to be. And also it's more convenient for some people as well with their time schedules. So keep in mind that investing now may be useful, and I'm certainly going to be considering investing in a much better camera now, because I think we're going to be in this situation as we find it for a good few more months, certainly before we return in some groups to live face-to-face meetings. So that wraps up my section. It's about 4 minutes to 11 here on this workshop. And if you've just tuned in again on YouTube and you're watching this on a replay, this is a workshop on how to get the best ROI, if you like, from your online networking, whichever group you're part of. We just happen to be part of Evo Networking, and this is on the Biz Lives YouTube channel. So I'd just like to thank you all very much for taking part. It's very uncharacteristic for us, for me to finish on time, not the other group leaders, for me to finish on time with a few minutes in hand. So I'd just like to whiz round our group leaders as Andrea Sexton laughs out loud at that quite rich statement from me and shakes her head knowingly, but it is unusual for me to finish on time. So thank you very much indeed for taking part. I would like to just give the last thoughts to our esteemed panelists. So just in quick succession, if you've got any last thoughts or particular points that you'd like to drive home, James, Andrea and Sarah, please take yourself off mute and come into the main conversation just for the last 2 minutes, if you will. Over to you, James.
Okay, thank you, Jamie, and very, very wise words. I would just say to everybody, remember, we're part of the Evo family. We're all part of the Evo family. Let's help ourselves get through this crisis period and emerge smiling and hopefully more profitable. Thanks.
Thank you, James. Andrea.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that all of you, you've got questions, you want some help with making your networking work better for you, then yeah, just book a meeting with me and ask me to help you, and I will. So always happy to help.
And the information there for Andrea is in the chat. Sarah, last words, please.
And likewise, get in touch with us if there's anything that you need that would enhance your ability to network really productively. So do get in touch with us. And I would also add the idea of that Evo is really about, we use this word buddy groups, don't we, at Evo? Having small little groups within the group that can really address particular things that you need addressing. So do take advantage of that. The opportunity to buddy up with other people in your group, you'll get that opportunity in certain meetings, and hold each other to account. Make sure that you can do things on their behalf that would really make a difference to them. And it's about contributing. What can I contribute to the group? What can I contribute to this person? Always asking yourself that. And in that spirit of generosity, it's amazing what comes back. So that's how we operate at Evo. And I like to use this sort of phrase, ring of steel. We've got a ring of steel around us to all go forward together and develop our businesses and our friendships and our connections all together.
Thank you very much indeed, Sarah. So a big round of applause to our speakers, James Short, Andrea Sexton, and Sarah Brooks, and of course to yourselves. Thank you so much for taking part in this 1 hour session. We hope it's been super useful. There has been 20 useful points. See if you can act on some of those and increase your profitability, your bottom line, or your sense of community. Evo is here to stay. We've had 100% growth, like I mentioned at the very beginning, and we are growing. Also take part in the Biz Live. The next episode is tomorrow at 11:30 and is usually weekly on LinkedIn and now streaming live to YouTube too. And of course, visit your other groups, visit the other meetings. We are a family together. There is a sense of community, and we're at 11 o'clock. So thank you. Have a wonderful week. There's no sticking around afterwards because group leaders and others have things to go off and do. So thank you for your time today. I wish you the very, very best of luck in your networking endeavors. Thank you for your support and all the very best for the rest of the week. Goodbye, everyone.